So here we are going to start with JavaScript. If you are new to this, let's start from the beginning. Um, JavaScript can be, seen as a, scripting language, especially to use with the web. So if you especially wants to enhance the pages, because HTML provide you the structure and CSS provide you the presentation. If you want the interactivity, if you want to incorporate with the web pages, then you have to use JavaScript. So like in other things, this is also considered interpreted language, which means it'll, work on the fly, meaning like if there are any errors up to that particular error, it will execute, right? And it will be one of the core technologies. We already know that we have done HTML, CSS, and we have covered the basics. So if you look at the features, you can react to the event, you can click a button, you can interact with the user, providing them alerts, messages. You can have special effects like, image scrolling automatically, and you can put up a button when you click more to the next one, or you can show and hide. Then you can accept variable texts, and validate data, especially very important in your case as application designer. For example, let's say you want to validate an email address, whatever user input, whether it's in kind of a format that you expect. So that validation part is very, very important when it comes to application development. Creating cookies, and also like depend on the users browsers, you may have to present in different ways different content. So that case, JavaScript's very useful. So some interfaces where you can have with JavaScripts. For example, one thing is I5 validations. You expecting at least must be 4 characters. Yes. So then if you make a mistake, so it'll do. So error correction, especially validation, we will use. And hide and show things like, usually sometimes you don't have to present everything to the user. So you can hide most of the part. Whenever you need, user can click and show. We call collapsible content. So that's also possible. And some cases when you type it, you can, whatever the content we have, we can actually fill the remaining based on whatever user inputs. We call sometimes form filling, or else interactively interact with what user types. So those are some of the okay. So there's a disconnection happens. So let me share the screen again. So if you briefly look at how to add JavaScript to the page, there are two ways that you can do, like in other cases as well. One thing is you can put it to the same place together with the HTML using the tag called script. So you can embed using script tag. So you can keep the JavaScript together with the code, right? Or else the other way is you can save it as a separate file, and then you can include this we call external script. So why external script? It is, you can actually separate out the code from the page, and then you can actually use this with the multiple pages. So that's the advantage you will get. But at the same time, there's a disadvantages as well, because since it's a separate file, then you have to contact the server again, which may slow down the performance, right? So that's for adding JavaScript pages. Right. Now, if you ask me where to place this script tag, right? Usually you can put in different places, but commonly you will notice that this will be put in the head section, like we did in other cases, we can put in the head section or very end of the body. So if you look at the code, so in this particular case, we have put it the very end of the body. That is script and src. We put it as an external script here. We can put it like this, right? So it depends, right? But these are the common ways. Actually speaking, you can put anywhere in the document. So that's possible. Right. Few things you need to remember about the JavaScripts. First of all, it's case sensitive. If you're using different cases, you have to be very careful when you type variable names, because it'll, if you take my variable in you see we have put in different cases. It'll be treated as different objects, right? So statements, alert function, this is one of the functions that we are going to put in this. uh, so in this particular case, it put to the message to the user, and then so this, there's a semicolon at the end of the statement. Okay, so we were discussing about the basics, and we were discussed that it's case sensitive, and then the alert. So that actually displays a message to the user. We will use alert for this. Okay, so in this particular case, you can also use comments. There are two ways that you can use. You can use double slashes to display the comments, or else slash and the star in case if you want to put multiple lines. And then variables, if you talk about the variables in JavaScript, so we will start with the var keyword var to say that it's a variable, and then you can put up a variable name and you can assign a value, right? So depending on what you assign, then JavaScript takes the data type, define the data type. So when you name a variable, you have to have set of variable naming conventions. In this particular case, you have to start with a letter O underscore, and then you can have digits, letters, digits, and underscore in any combination. You can use it. Uh, you cannot use spaces. Instead of that, you can use underscores or camel case in case when you want to create a variable. And then you can't also use any special characters, right? So keep this in mind when you're creating the variables in JavaScript. Right, now let's look at some data types here. Now, when it comes, you can actually, define a variable without any value, right? We call undefined data type. So that means if you just say var, that means a variable in foo, which means you are not going to define any value, right? So the value we say it's undefined. But in particular case, you can define without any value, then actually you can use null, right? So null means nothing basically, but you can start with like saying var, foo, and null. You can assign variables the numeric values. Now, for example, in this variable, we will say var, foo, and 5. And when we say alert, foo plus 4, two variables now we are going to add, which means 5 plus 5. you should be getting 10. And when it comes to string, you have to be very careful because how exactly you are going to use. So you can use either single quotes or double quotes, but when you put it this now, for example, 4 and 5, and if you're adding, so this is called a string concatenation. So it's not like earlier, just automatically decides on this, and then it will say, okay, 4 plus 4 is 5 plus 5, so it's consider the string adding. If you take this one, the 5, but with colons, double colons like this, it defines as a string. So because of that, you will get 55, but 5 concatenated, put it like this. Okay, let's look at a slightly different one. Now this one, we have a string value and then we have a numeric value here. But when you keep on adding like this, since it's a string value, this is also considered as a string, and you add that. So it's like work as a concatenation, like 5. Right. Then another data type that you can use is the booleans. Basically, you can use true or false in simple lowercase. So for true, so variable will be a true value. Right. So the same way you can define arrays as well. And interestingly, you can use different values, multiple values. So values with multiple data could be assigned like this. So for example, here we are going to create a array contains number 5 and 5 as a string, and that means in the characters, and 5, right? So then you can access the index start with 0. So if you want to access the first one, so we will be foo 0, foo 1, and foo 2, right? So that's what we could do with the array values. So next, let's look at different methods that you can use. For example, you can use concatenation. That means if you want to join several arrays into one, then index of, we want to get the specific value of giving an index. Then joins, that means you can use this to join two arrays, right? So it will connect, combine into a single string. Last index of, so when you have an array, it will provide you the last one, last position in the array. Then you can work with removing. For example, you can remove last element using a pop. You can add new element to the end using push. You can sort element in descending order, and then you can remove the first element using shift, and you can also copy portion of array to new array. It's called slice. Sorting, it's sort. Slice to a string, you can convert the element to a string and the value of. Right. Now, um, let's look at some basic operations as well. So when it comes to basic operations, you can perform addition like in other programming languages, subtraction, multiplication, division, the modular division, increment and decrement, and also like adds the value is plus and equal. You know that when you say I plus equal 1 means I equals I plus 1. So those are the basic operations. Likewise, you can perform comparisons as well. right? You can check whether the two values are the equal or not equal. Um, but when you say equal, it look at only the values, not the data types. But when you have three equal signs like this, it will check whether the values are identical, right? I'll come up with an example. And the next one is not identical. You have exclamation mark and two equal signs, which is to check whether it's not identical. Then we have greater than or equal, less than, and less than equal, right? Okay, I think we'll do a small exercise. Otherwise, it will be, very difficult you to grasp from the beginning. So let's put into practice what we have been doing earlier. So in this particular case, um, can you open um a document, create a basic HTML document? Yes, can you create a basic HTML document? And then let's uh, um, just display something, right? So open a notepad and then create a basic HTML document. Then we will discuss how to put the script.
Wi-Fi access
So let's start with the notepad. So I'm going to share the notepad first. Let's create a very basic HTML document. So we can say HTML/HTML. So if you need it HTML5, you can also specify doc type HTML. Right. Now you can have head and body. So within that, I will put title. Let's make a greeting app. So let me say JavaScript 1, that's the title. And then we have the end of head. So let's put body. Right. Right. So next thing what we are going to do, um, we will put up some elements. So the very first one is use of script. So for the time being, let me put it within the head, right? I told you like you can put in couple of places, but let's start with putting it here. So I'm going to say script, and then slash script, right? So let me open a Google page, right? And then I'm going to put a simple message, right? So in this particular case, remember I told you the simple message would be a use of alert. We'll just put alert. We don't have anything actually in this. Let's say, okay, we will put something here. Um, let's see, JavaScript, right? So that's all what we have. So let me save this. I'm going to save it in again, it's actually disconnected. So let me put it to notepad. I'm actually trying to save the file. So I saved it, and then I'm going to open it, right? So in this case, I go to the place and then JavaScript, and then I will say JavaScript lab, right? So if you see this, let me share the whole screen now. This is what I have. I saved as a JavaScript lab one, and this is what I see because I have only this one. Now I'm going to keep on modify this. So in this particular case, I'm going to modify this just to show you a simple alert. We call alert, and within double quotes, you can say anything. Let me say hello and double quotes, and then you have to put a semicolon. So let me save this file, save. Let me click this. Let me refresh. So I think you should be getting some message like this. So it says hello world, and then when you click OK, then it will load the remaining parts. Right. Okay. So it's simply put the values, right? Now we look at couple of things there, creating a variable and put up the values. So let's see to work with some of this. Now let's say we said, okay, uh, we creating variable, we start with var and foo. So you can say 5, right? And then you can say alert foo. which will print this. So let me run and show you what will happen. Yes, if you refresh it, first of all, you will see hello world. And when you click it, you will get 5 because it will assign to 5 and it will show you this. Okay, different values additions that we have discussed. Let me show you those as well. Let me create another variable. We will say foo, and then we will put 5 like this, right? You know that this is a string, right? Let me say bar here. This is a string. So try the values and tell me what are the answers here. I will just put these values only. Yes. Can you, I'm not going to run this, but I want you to send me in the chat the output of the three.
10:55.
Yes, we have 55. Any guesses what will happen here? Now we have defined this as 5, the numerical value. The second one, second variable is a string value. So basically we are trying to add these two, numerical value, string value, and then numerical value and string value. Yes, I got, Lakshman says it's an error. 10:55. Okay, let's save this and see. Let me save, let me refresh. Yes, hello world. First of all, it's 10 because we know that it's 5 plus 5, the number. Then it's 55. Why 55? Because it takes as a string 5 and 5, concatenate this. Third one again 55. Why is that? I told you when you have a string and a number, it will convert the number also string because you can't add a number with a string. So most of the other programming languages, you will get an error. So it's not mismatch. But in JavaScript, it will convert into a string. Right? Those who said any errors, you can copy paste your code into chat so that I can help you out. Yes, those who have difficulties, can you send me the issues you might have? Yes, have you finished? Shall we move to the next one then? I think we are clear about the variables. We could actually put the booleans as well, right? So that's a true and false, that which I'm not going to discuss. But let's put an array and see, right? So let me back to this. Yeah, let me create an array. We will say some name for this, and then we are going to create an array. If you remember the array, you can just put it as a array, square bracket, and then you can comma separate value. Interestingly, in JavaScript, you can actually mix data. So we have numerical value 5 and 5 and numerical 5 like this. Yes, you can put it this semicolon, and you can alert 0 to get the first element, alert second element, alert third element like this. So let me save. Let me share the whole screen so that we can see how this will work in the browser. So let's refresh it. Now you will start with the hello world and these additions, and after that, hopefully, if I did it correctly, we should get each individual elements in the array, right? So this is what I have put. So let me run this. So it start with the hello world. So that's the alert. When you click it, first of all, we will get 5 plus 5, that is 10. So what I have done is I am actually going to look at the operators, basic operators. So in this particular case, I have saved as a new file, JS2, JavaScript lab 2, and I'm defining two variables, number two, right? So let me put three, right? Now I'm going to perform operations. Now, for example, alert. I can add the numbers number one plus number two. So the basics one. Alert number one minus number two. Second one. Alert number one multiplied by number two, and alert number one divided by number two. You can increment, you can say number plus plus, alert number minus minus. Yes. Similarly, I can say alert number. Okay, so I think one is missing here. One, one, one. We can say plus equal, let me say three. So let's see what will happen, right? Remember that all these cases, I'm actually changing the values. So you have to be, careful. Let me say file save. And then let me share the screen now. Let me first of all start with the second one. I'm double clicking it. Yes, this is the addition, the first one. So we have 13, yes, 10 plus 3 is 13. Subtraction, that is 7, yes. Multiplication, it gives you 30. Division, we get 3.333 something. Okay, increment number one, we have the value is 10, right? So display 10, then 11, uh, and then adding 1 because it's increased, and then you subtract 1. So earlier what has happened is it's display the value and then increase. This is after. And then also display the value 11 and then subtract 1. It becomes 10. And finally 10 plus 3 will get 30. If you're finished, please let me know so that I will go to the next one.